In today's world, we are increasingly dependent on technology. Our business and personal lives rely on it, but as you've probably noticed, it's unreliable. They promise it'll get better, but it usually gets worse. Our computers are slow, so we end up squinting at smartphones and tablets. We live in constant fear that something's going to happen to our personal data, so we're scared into paying for fake protection that proves useless when disaster strikes. Update attacks, fake Wi-Fi, cloud control, and other industry scandals are designed to keep the money flowing. The jokers we pay to fix our stuff have no clue what they're doing, so they do a virus scan and then wipe out our precious photos. Intelligent, successful people feel intimidated by the chaos and think it's somehow their fault. If they only knew what the industry was doing to them, they'd get torches and pitchforks. If only we had someone to explain it all in plain English so we can start protecting ourselves. Oh wait, we do! It's the Computer Exorcist Podcast with your host, Marc Anthony Arena.
From the Wallace Memorial microphone in my home office, overlooking the can of worms in downtown Rochester, New York, this is the Computer Exorcist Podcast. I am Marc Anthony Arena. I am so glad you have joined me today for a solo teaching episode. Got so many articles and so little time, and I'm going out of town next bunch of weeks, so I'll try and pre-record a couple more episodes so we can be here for you. Alright, let's dive right into it, shall we? This one, I had to go to Staples the other day because I'm allergic to Best Buy. I needed something locally, I had to go there. Bought a couple of parts, and I said, look, no HP, no Samsung, because I want it to work. And they just snickered and gave me the parts I needed. So I looked at their tech desk bench, and they had these little red flyers. And I grabbed one, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It said Virus Shield Chromebook. I don't know if they meant to switch those words. I don't know if they knew in the English language that the adjective goes first before the noun. But Virus Shield Chromebook. It's a 1-year service plan. We'll help you protect your Chromebook from online threats and get on the web more securely. So this is hysterical because Chromebooks are invincible to viruses forever and ever and ever. Amen. All right? The whole point of a Chromebook is to protect you from viruses. Look, you can never, ever, 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 ever have a virus on a non-Microsoft product. By definition, viruses only affect Microsoft products because they are so horribly designed. All right? It's possible to get a virus in a non-Microsoft product, but it's only in a laboratory setting with one hand tied behind its back kind of thing. So it's virtually impossible in the real world to ever have a virus. Now, with Chromebooks, Google says, we do virus protection, we do active scanning to keep up that illusion that viruses still exist and to keep up that illusion that virus scanners still help you. The only reason Google does this, right, they should just say, hey, look, we don't have viruses. The only reason Google still keeps up the illusion is so that they can tell you to put your Chromebook in the garbage after 3 years. That's the scandal with a Chromebook. It's actually a time bomb. So it's invincible forever, and I use old Chromebooks all the time. But they try to scare you. They do a little pop-up after 3 years and say, shame on you. You might get viruses if you keep using this product. We recommend you put it in the garbage and buy a new one. Anyway, Chromebooks are invincible, regardless of what they tell you in order to scare you, okay? So this disgusting little flyer is put out to all these Staples locations, and it says, McAfee 24/7 identity monitoring. All right, identity monitoring services have nothing to do with your computer, okay? Absolutely nothing to do with your computer, all right? Your identity is totally external, right? Your social security and whatever, it's on the dark web. It has nothing to do with your computer. No one's breaking into your computer, except in the situation of a support scam where they call you on the phone and say scary words and then you let them break into your computer. Okay? That's the only way anyone can ever get into your computer, and that's the only way that your computer can ever be involved in one of these incidents. Okay? For the most part, people are going in the dark web, or they're breaking into a company that has your information, and that company has naked Microsoft security. All right? So identity protection is fine, but it has nothing to do with your computer or your Chromebook or anything. Okay, so it doesn't shield your Chromebook. Next thing is McAfee Secure VPN. And I've talked to this before, but VPN is a great thing if you work for a corporation and need to dial into your home office. Other than that, it's utterly pointless. It is scandalous that companies are trying to dangle VPNs as a way to protect you. It's a way for them to make more money. So a VPN just cloaks your traffic between you and whatever website you're going to. They are hoping that you do not understand that your traffic is already cloaked. It's already cloaked with HTTPS technology, okay? And in the case of email, it's cloaked with SSL and TLS technology, okay? So your stuff is already cloaked. You don't need a VPN. The only thing a VPN can do is cause trouble, where 99% of the time, if you have a VPN, you can't get into most websites because they don't trust you, okay? So that's another thing, totally pointless. Next thing, McAfee Antivirus and Web Advisor. So McAfee products slow a computer down by 90%. I haven't seen one infect a Chromebook, but I can guarantee you it's going to slow the Chromebook down massively. And it's only, okay, antivirus by definition can only look for threats pre-2013. Heck, that was before Chromebooks came out. So viruses stopped in the year 2013. It is virtually impossible to ever have a virus ever again, unless you pull a computer up out of your basement and turn it on, right? It's been sitting there for years. McAfee Web Advisor is a scandal where McAfee monitors all your web traffic. And look, again, by definition, they're only playing whack-a-mole. They're only finding threats long after they happened. When you get a threat, the bad guys now put scary websites in these cloud services, and they name them with random letters and numbers, just like they used to do with the salted virus technique on Windows machines 10 years ago. They make websites with random letters and numbers, so McAfee can't find them. Only a human being knows the concept of random letters and numbers. Computers don't understand that, all right? The best you could do is have a computer look at a website and say, okay, this website name doesn't match with any words in the dictionary, therefore it's presumably gobbledygook, therefore it could be bad. But no one can ever help this stuff, right? It's random letters and numbers, and then a scary message appears on your screen, and so on and so forth. McAfee Web Advisor can never, by definition, ever protect against these things. So again, it's an excellent way for McAfee to monitor your traffic, slow your computer down. Who knows if they're selling your stuff to people? Norton actually started harnessing your horsepower in your computers lately, and we've talked a lot about Avast and how they monitor you and sell your behavior, right? All of this stuff is fake protection that's actually slowing you down, wasting your money, and monitoring you. Okay, great. Finally, they say McAfee protection score. And who knows what that is? It's an arbitrary number that makes you feel good, and it probably has a happy face, a shield, a lock, a check mark, and another happy face, just to make you feel good, and a little green check mark, right? People love green shields. In reality, it can never, ever, 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 ever protect you against the modern threats. It cannot protect you against update attacks, which destroy a product, and they come from the publisher themselves. So Google sends out update attacks to slow down their Chromebooks and make them spy on you more. It can never protect against legalized spyware, right? Like Wave Browser and One Browser and those kind of things. I went to a client's house this week, brand new client. They had like a 1-year-old Lenovo laptop, phenomenal, powerful machine, horribly slow. It was completely overrun by Wave Browser and One Browser. They're horrific, hideous, mutilated versions of Chrome that are designed to impersonate Chrome, and none of their victims are aware they're using it. None of them. They just think they're using Chrome or Edge or whatever. And Edge is, of course, malicious as well. But it harvests all of your information. One browser and Wave browser and any launch and one launch, and they name themselves new names every day, but it's the same concept. They monitor everything about you and sell everything you do, but it's fully legalized, okay? So McAfee can never, ever, ever protect against legalized threats. McAfee can never, ever, ever, ever protect against ransomware, crypto locker, hostageware, that thing. You can't see those on non-Microsoft products anyway. And finally, McAfee can never, ever, 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 ever protect, no matter how many shields and happy faces, it can never, ever protect against support scams. Again, you go to a website, the website is randomlettersandnumbers.com, and then there's sirens, and then there's scary sentences, and it says call now, and if you call them, they break into your computer using legalized software, you let them in, and then they destroy everything. So much for Virus Shield Chromebook, which should probably say Chromebook Virus Shield. I don't know why they don't understand adjectives and sentence structure. Oh, look, there's a back thing on it, too. McAfee Antivirus scans your apps and files to protect you against the latest threats. Well, again, the latest threats, they can never protect you against the latest threats. Let's see. McAfee does the dark web and secure VPN and Protection Score identifies weak spots and guides you to improve your security. Guess what? You know what the weak spot is? The weak spot is you're infected with McAfee to begin with. That's the first threat I remove on people's computers. Okay, by the way, that client this week, they were infected with the web browser, the Wave browser, the One launch, and McAfee sat there twiddling its thumbs. And they were also infected with a fake antivirus called Total AV. It's a horrific scam that breaks into your computer, takes your credit card number, you think you're paying for protection, and it's a fake protection. It's utterly pointless. It's an absolute scam. And when you try to go to your website to cancel your account, there's no way to do it. There's an infinite loop where you can tell it to disconnect from your computers. Ooh, license management. But you're not allowed to ever close your account. I went on the Googles and had to find their phone number, and I'm going to start teaching people how to do this. Basically, in the case of Total AV, I had to make sure that the client's credit card luckily the credit card was expired, the one that Total AV had, but I told the client, call your credit card, tell them you've been scammed immediately by the Total AV scam. It's a horrific scam organization. So McAfee just sat there twiddling its thumbs. Total AV was destroying the computer. They had all sorts of fake browsers. And yeah, so look, McAfee, you are the weak link. You are the weak spot. You are the weakest link, as they say. All right, let's keep going here. AndroidGuys.com, June 2021. FaceTime calls are finally coming to Android and Windows. ... kind of. Yesterday, Apple teased a way to have FaceTime calls on Android or Windows. Previously, FaceTime calls were only available to users on Apple devices, such as iPhones, iPads, and Macs. All right, side note here, explanation. One of the reasons Apple came to dominate, obviously they invented the iPhone, but the way they kept their dominance in the smartphone market after better alternatives came out was by crushing people. It's by telling people, look, you can only do video calls with people if you have an Apple device, and you can talk Apple to Apple, and that's it. Right? I don't like Apple phones, but I have to have one. I just keep it at home in case I have a girlfriend or a relative or someone who wants to talk through FaceTime. It's an ultra-proprietary locked network, all right? No one would need an Apple phone if it weren't for that, right? It's the way that people are only with them because of fear. Well, I need an Apple phone because my relatives want to do FaceTime, okay? The same thing happened, Verizon rose to power in the same way. Okay, the same thing happened with them, where they back when cell phones charged you per minute, Verizon said, you know what? If you come join Verizon, then you can have unlimited Verizon to Verizon minutes, right? So if you join our network, then you can talk to our other clients for free. So of course, people joined Verizon in droves, and it's evil genius, right? It's a good way to lock people in. It's a good idea, but then you're locking people in. It's not good ethics. And unfortunately, a lot of people are still with Verizon to this day, even though minutes became free like 10 years ago. Unfortunately, a lot of people are still with Verizon out of fear, right? Everything in this industry is done out of fear. Nobody competes on merit, okay? Since nobody in the industry has ever heard of logics and common sense and morals and ethics before. So the only people still on Verizon and my client this week, it was 2 senior citizens. It was just the family plan of the 2 of them, and they were paying $200 a month for Verizon. So I told them to go to T-Mobile, ask for secret $15 plan. 15 times 2 is 30, so they're going to go down from 200 down to 30 once they escape Verizon. Anyway, that's the point, is that Apple people have Apple devices because they want to be able to do FaceTime with their relatives, and that requires an Apple device, okay? Just like Verizon did years ago. Okay, so that's the story. So what they're saying here is Apple is now announcing that you can do video calls with non-Apple devices, okay? So the article goes on. Unfortunately, it wasn't a FaceTime app for Android, but rather a way for users to join FaceTime calls via a link. Kind of similar how Zoom calls work, except Zoom actually requires an app, kind of, sort of. But anyway, the point is, the Apple user sends their Android friend or Windows friend a link. And then it pulls open a web browser, and you're on Apple's website, and you're talking to that person. It's that simple. It's actually a beautiful thing. I'm actually glad they didn't develop an exclusive proprietary app for Android phones, right? So you can take this link. You can even use a Mint computer. You can use a Sailfish phone, which is non-Android. You can use anything in the world. They just send you a website link, and you go to Apple's website, and you talk to that person. It's actually really beautifully done. There's like one person left in the basement of Apple, like Milton from Office Space. There's one person in the basement of Apple who still believes in simplicity. So here's the explanation, and this is huge. Like, I knew this was going on, but the explanation is huge. The author says, it's clear Apple is feeling left out, as many people turned to Zoom during the pandemic. And a year later, they finally caught up. Okay, so that's the interesting thing, okay? Apple would have been perfectly fine keeping people crushed under its grip if it weren't for the pandemic and people switching to Zoom. All right, so that's very important. So it's only when they are threatened that they actually release their death grip on a populace. Does that make sense? You know, I thought, it was wonderful. They're finally opening up. And, I mean, my buddy Wallace, who I named the microphone after, told me back when the iPad came out around 2010, he said, yeah, FaceTime works, it's free, it works on any Apple-to-Apple device, and eventually it will become open. And it took them long enough. It took another 10 years, but, you know, I thought, okay, great, yeah, that's nice of them to open it up. So I thought they were doing it to be nice and open, but the only reason they did it 10 years later is because they were worried people were leaving them. And by the way, Microsoft quietly added, during a Windows Update attack, during the pandemic, Microsoft added this little icon in the bottom right that says Meet Now, and you can click on it, and your friend clicks on it, and you get a number like, hey, I'm 6743, and your friend says I'm 4758 or whatever, and then you can meet. And it's easy, that's cool, but it's just funny how Microsoft just snuck in that little attack during the pandemic, because again, they were afraid of Zoom as well, right? They were all afraid that the incumbent big guys don't want another big guy to deal with. So it's only when they're threatened, right? Sometimes it takes a big threat like that. All right. Apple also announced some exciting new features for FaceTime. Most notably is the Share Play feature that allows you to share music or streaming from services, only sanctioned designated services, by the way, like Apple TV Plus and Hulu and a few more. Okay, so during the pandemic, ways to watch videos remotely together gained popularity. And they did watch parties, right? So I had a girlfriend during the pandemic, and I couldn't see her, so I was using the iPad, and then we would watch TV shows together, but we would both have to turn on our TVs and watch them independently, and that's the best way to do it, right? As opposed to these watch parties where you have to watch on the tablet or something. Point is, Apple allowed you to do share, play, watch parties, but it was only through designated services that they allow. Again, this industry is all about controlling using sanctioned designated things. So anyway, finally, us Android users will be able to have calls with all our family and friends who use Apples, okay? So, folks, you no longer have to buy Apple devices, all right? You can use anything and just tell your Apple friends that to send you a little FaceTime invitation link, all right? Okay, and side note, deep down in my heart, I always wonder if my little side tangents of explaining things are helpful or confusing. So let me know, folks. There's just so much going through my mind, and I definitely need to add commentary while I'm reading these articles. I need to give you some backstory or some clarification or explanation, but sometimes I get carried away. So in all these years now, more than 10 years, I've been a talk show host, and I always wonder deep down, this is the first time I've actually vocalized this, I've always wondered deep down, hey, are my rants helping? All right, thanks to listener Matt for this next article here from digitaltrends.com, May 2021. Framework laptop is now available for pre-order, starting at $999. The Framework laptop, a modular notebook that lets you swap most of its parts for repairs or upgrades, is now up for grabs in a limited pre-sale. Okay, so two things here. If you notice, like if you buy a car or a laptop, it's a design that comes from a proprietary corporation. You buy it, it's a certain model, and when you need parts, you have to buy a part for that particular model. Okay, I need a door for a Chevy Cruze, or I need a keyboard for a Lenovo T51. Right? Those parts are designed by a designer. Every single part is designed by a designer and only works on that model. It might work on one or two models, right? Like if you get a Mercedes, the air conditioning controls might work on several models or something, okay? But that's the point. It's closed design. If you read the book, The Cathedral and the Bazaar, he talks about how Chinese motorcycles have completely interchangeable parts. All right, so interchangeable parts, if you remember in your history books, right, it means you can swap out the parts. But with the Chinese motorcycle industry, every part is interchangeable on any kind of model or any kind of brand. It's beautiful. It's called open architecture. And the same goes for PC towers, right? Your desktop computers, your tower computers. All right, I can buy a case, an empty metal case. They call it a white box, and then I can put any kind of motherboard in there. The little screw holes are all line up exactly because it's all a worldwide standard. And then I can get a DVD drive, and I can get a hard drive and whatever, and they all fit into the slot. They're all exactly 5 1/4 inches or 2.5 inches or whatever it is. Everything lines up exactly. It's a worldwide standard. It's fully open. And guess what? When you have competition, may the best man win. So open architecture is a beautiful thing. With PC towers, I've experienced it personally. And hey, you got a broken part? No big deal. You can put any part in the world in. You don't have to get an ultra proprietary part. I'm sure I've said this on past shows. All right, so enter the Framework laptop. Up until now, laptops were not open architecture, right? I remember in the 90s, there were plenty of guys, I would talk to computer store dudes, and they would say, yep, open laptops are coming. We're going to be able to buy them from A-Open. And there were hints of it, right? There was, I want to say, MSI and a couple other brands would, maybe even KDS, they would have laptops that were kind of open, but they would still sell them to you. And the idea was eventually we would be more open, but it never quite worked out, right? They were, and you know, laptops, even proprietary laptops like Lenovo and Dell are repairable and upgradeable, right? It's just that you have to buy those parts from those brands, okay? The worst of 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 the worst is Apple. They now, after 2019, their laptops are one freaking circuit board. So even if you bought Apple proprietary parts, you are not allowed to do anything. If your product dies, you lose all your data, you lose everything, you put it in the garbage. It's one circuit board. You are done. That's it. So you've got the open architecture, which is ideal. Then you have regular standard proprietary laptops like Dell, Lenovo, and heaven forbid HP. And then you have Apple, that's just the worst of the worst of the worst. They're the most expensive, But they're evil circuit boards. They're one circuit board, you're done forever. So that's the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. I had a guy a couple weeks ago, $2,600 Apple laptop. He broke one key on his keyboard, and I said, sorry, too bad. Actually, the whole keyboard was broken. And I said, look, sorry, too bad. I can't even, normally I'd do a hard drive swap, right? I'd swap the hard drive out, plop it in another machine. Can't do it. I had to spend an entire day transferring all of his data from his old computer to his new computer, and his $2,600 Apple laptop, whatever it costs, had to just go in the garbage. That's it. You're done. Even if he brought it to Apple to have the keyboard replaced, maybe Apple would do it, and they would be the only exclusive place to fix a keyboard, but they would erase his data. And he needed his machine. He's a business guy, and he needed his machine. It's crucial to the operation of his whole company. So I had to spend an entire day copying all of his data because I couldn't swap out the hard drive. All right. Anyway, so here comes Framework. God bless Framework. They're incredible. It's a modular notebook. Yeah, it costs a little bit, but $9.99 is a lot better than the $2,600 Apple throwaway paper cup. All right, Mark, let's calm down here. The Framework laptop, announced earlier this year by one of the founders of Oculus. That's interesting because the founders of Oculus were really good guys. They ended up, I don't know why they sold it to Facebook. It was a very bad move. Look, if I ever sell out a company, I would make sure to sell it to good people. They sold Oculus, it was a headset for virtual reality. And virtual reality is cool, but I would never do virtual reality in a world controlled by Facebook, okay? Anyway, so the founders of Oculus wanted to, I guess, make up for their sins and come up with something that brought more openness to the world instead of selling their product, making billions, and then having Facebook use it to control and subjugate humanity. All right, so they came out with Framework, and the Framework notebook is said to redefine the replace when broken approach that we see today. Okay? Again, it's the Apple model of put it in the garbage, buy another one, replace when broken. Okay, they're saying repair when broken. Look, if you had a Model T Ford, you can keep repairing it, and you can keep it going forever, right? Sleek modern design, 2.87 pounds. The Framework laptop almost looks like a MacBook Pro. However, it's a lot better, as you now know. The notebook's main strength lies not in the looks, but in the ability to upgrade, customize, replace, and repair the majority of its internal parts. While many Windows laptops offer the option to replace memory or storage, right? Usually any laptop you get today, you could put more RAM or more hard drive, and those you can buy any brand of. But this lightweight notebook takes it a few steps further. The battery, the screen, the keyboard, and even the motherboard can all be upgraded. Not even replaced, but upgraded. And again, this is open architecture, so the hope here is Framework will sell you a motherboard, but they're taking a risk. They're going on a limb and saying, hey, not just us, but you can buy a motherboard from anyone and put it into our architecture and put it into our cases. Okay, it's gorgeous and beautiful. And the idea is they'll always be the leader, right? It's just like Tesla came out a few years back and released all of their patents because they wanted to foster the EV market, right? So these guys at Framework, they want to foster the market of an open architecture laptop. Again, just amazing. And by the way, I have plenty of laptops. I have stacks of laptops in my office, and I look at it and go, oh, this is pretty cool, but the keyboard's annoying. And, especially how they're hiding the home and the end and the page up and the page down keys. Look, I write books and speeches. I need to be able to do word processing. Why would you hide those keys? Those are crucial to people who actually write documents on their computer. And look, the only people still using laptops are people who write documents, okay? If you're a consumer and just wanting to consume media, you've gone off to a tablet, right? It's just like church. After COVID, the only people who are in church are people who want to be here. Anyway, so I would love to have a laptop where I could pick my own keyboard and pick an intelligently designed keyboard instead of these stupid ones that are hiding all your buttons. The only tool you need to swap any part of it is the screwdriver that we include in the box, says Framework. Incredible. The laptop has 4 expansion bays that you can fill with expansion cards of your choice. It's incredible. Again, just like the card slots we used to have in laptops. Some of the options are USB-C, which is that disgusting new USB connector that's not compatible with anything. USB-A, which is the real USB. Micro SD cards, amazing. Yesterday I went to a client's house and they had a laptop and they were worried they'd have to throw it away because it ran out of space. And I said, no, we'll just use an SD card. DisplayPort, which is an evil monitor connector that just came out this week. HDMI, which is evil, but at least it's widely used. And even a high-end headphone amp. That's incredible. So if you're a high-end audio person, an audiophile, you don't have to carry around a little brick, an external brick of a headphone amp. You can get one installed in there. That's incredible. The Framework laptop runs on an Intel processor. You're given the option of base, performance, or professional models. The $999 base configuration comes with a Core i5, 8 gig of RAM, and a 256 hard drive. That's more than enough for any consumer, okay? More than enough for any consumer. That's more than enough for me. That's what I have, okay? And by the way, unfortunately now when I look at laptops, I have to cringe now, and I have to say, look, be careful of RAM now, because certain laptops just has the RAM soldered to the board, right? A lot of people are following Apple off a cliff with that. But I look at this and I say, look, just buy the base one because 8 gig of RAM is fine for now, and then you can upgrade it. They're not soldering anything. You are allowed to upgrade this thing, right? Like the good old days. You can upgrade this machine, so it's okay to buy the base. The performance one has more, higher cost and more specs and so on. These prices place the notebook out of the budget laptop price range, but it does cost less than the MacBook Pro, again. And unlike MacBook Pro, you're actually allowed to use this and repair it and upgrade it. Imagine that, instead of put it in the garbage. So, yeah, that's the deal. Anyone will be able to make modules for this. It's not just them. You can replace parts. It's incredible. Again, it's risky if they open up the design to other manufacturers, right? I mean, I could see them just selling it themselves, but that's the point. It will foster an ecosystem of open architecture, okay? It's sickening. It's sickening the amount of laptops and tablets that are being put in the garbage, all right? At least, please, folks, at least recycle them. But it's sickening the amount of these things that are being discarded in any way because people aren't allowed to repair or upgrade laptops, right? Or again, they're told you're going to get viruses because this computer is out of support. I just wrote a speech on that earlier today. And look, if someone says it's out of support, it means they are trying to scare you into buying another product, okay? I've got machines from 2007. I've got a machine from 1994. It still turns on. It still works fine. So support is a word to scare you into buying things. The Framework received awards from the New York Times Wirecutter. They say the Framework laptop is the best and so far only option. If you want a laptop you can easily upgrade and repair. They received an award from The Verge. That's cool. I've read a lot of Verge articles. And the 2023 Framework has a new AMD option. That's beautiful because, Intel's okay, but I prefer AMD, so that's cool. iFixit gave it the, quote, exceedingly rare 10 out of 10 repairability score, unquote. So the award itself notes that it's exceedingly rare for a product to be repairable nowadays. iFixit is a site that teaches you how to take apart products and repair them and save them from the landfill. Okay. One last thing here that I've been wanting to get off my chest. This article's important. This is the Gospel Meditation from June 9th, 2024 by Father John Muir. And he says this: Satanas, which is the Latin and Spanish name for Satan, names the demonic mechanism by which we render wholeness through accusation. When we face a threat, we seek something to protect us, like more money, or more social status, or more security, or more power. Rivals inevitably arise for these things, and so do tensions, right? accusation presents itself. I'll never be successful unless I get ahead of that guy. Or she's already trying to get ahead of me. Or the immigrants are taking our jobs, and so on, right? And I always, look, I was broke for most of my adult life, and there is that fear. Obviously, you need to have enough money to eat, but it's that fear of, I want to have enough, I want to have enough, I want to have enough, right? And so on. The accusation grows into a fear-inducing threat. Things will break apart. They already are. Hurry, hurry, we inflict violence on a victim, and as if by magic, peace should ensue, right? So it's maybe I'll fight this person, and somehow some good outcome will come out of me hurting somebody, is what he's saying. And peace ensues for a time, but then soon fresh accusations are required to hold the new chaos at bay until there's no community left at all. This is essentially humankind's sad history in a nutshell. So what Father John Muir is saying here is if you have the scarcity mentality, okay, to put it in secular terms, you'll always think that you need more, I want more, I need more. And how do I get more? By attacking other people. When in reality, folks, right, just like the job market, there's so many scammers out there, and I tell them, look, if you stop scamming people, because their excuse, well, I need to steal to survive. No, I tell them, look, you can make a lot more money by helping people. Right? And it's this thing, you go out into the work world and you say, oh, I need to sell, and push things on people and sell so I can survive. No, if you step back a minute, look, I'm certainly not perfect, but I know if you step back a minute, you realize, look, you can help people and you can simplify the world and help people and make a lot of money. So that's what I've done in my career. Again, you don't have to accuse people or be jealous of people or fight people or steal to survive. That mechanism is he's saying that's a Satan trying to tell you that you have to do that. That's not true in reality. In reality, you can be stable and comfortable knowing that God provides for even the smallest of animals out there. So that's that. And again, whenever I do this, like in my next book about anxiety, I say, look, I'm going to give you explanations, and I will give you a religious and secular explanation, and they are always one and the same, conceptually. That's enough out of me. I'm getting back to work here. Marc Anthony Arena, thecomputerexorcist.com. If you know anyone who wants to help people and simplify the world for a living, then they can go to becomeanexorcist.com. Thank you so much for listening. Talk to you next week.
It's all right now. Make it on my own. I paid my time and my dues, and now I'm coming home. First they give you an inch, and then they take a mile. Stab you in the back and look at you in your face with a smile.